Goodbye to the man whose talent helped to make the mail great. Happy landings to Wingco. It's unbelievable when you fold these pages out. I mean, the Rhondda Valley and the coal miners and the terrible disaster where the rubble slid and engulfed a school and lost a lot of lives of the school children. And I remember that amongst all this rubble there was a man digging like fury and asking people to come and help because he'd got 2 sons underneath this rubble. A hopeless task. Well, I think of all the pictures I've been taking, I think the best picture was when I went by sea on the aircraft carrier from England to Gibraltar. And I had an idea of doing an aerial picture of a carrier at sea with, as they call it, a bone in its mouth. And at 10 o'clock we took off and went up above the aircraft carrier. I said, I want you to fly sideways in front of the aircraft carrier so that I can get a decent picture of it. He said, what happens if the engine cuts? I said, well, we get run over by an aircraft carrier. Very simple. He realised that, and we went aloft, and looking back at this picture, it was exactly what I wanted. Yes, one way of using equipment to make a picture was I had the use of a fisheye lens, which some people may know shoots a picture through 180 degrees right across the spectrum. And I dug a hole in golf course, small hole, the same size of a golf hole, deep enough to put my camera into the hole and put it at the bottom, set the lens and stood back, and Tommy Lima was standing around, and I asked him to come and look into the golf hole, and he came, and I, by remote control, I took the picture of Lima bending over the golf hole, a perfectly circular picture, and the crowd all around it, the camera sees them as well, and it's a super picture. An interesting picture I got out in the desert, not far from Aden, and Terry Fincher, express photographer, was with us, and I think the Mirror as well. Anyway, Terry suggested that the Padre could arrange a prayer meeting and get them all leaning on the guns as they listened to him in the desert. And as they did, and everybody shot the picture, myself included, because I quite liked it. But I suddenly realised that it wasn't complete, and when they'd all more or less packing up, I said, and it was still there, I suggested to the Padre a quick idea of, would you bless them, Father? And as I said that, so he lifted up his hand and he said a blessing and put it down, and that was my picture, and nobody else shot it. It was just because, no doubt, because I regularly turn up to church on a Sunday morning. It's convenient. I wasn't worried. All I knew was that I'd missed the job as I flew out. When I started off in my aeroplane to go and photograph this doomed oil rig, I realised that everybody else was miles ahead of me. They'd all been and photographed it and gone home again. When I got there, there was nobody there. The whole place was deserted, and although it was upright, it was slowly going over before my camera. And I suddenly realised that I'd got a scoop, that nobody else had got the pictures of the thing crashing all around them, and I had a complete scoop.
The trial run for the Great Air Race across the Atlantic must have been one of the more exciting assignments at the Daily Sketch for you.
This race between the top of the GPU tower out to London Airport, across the pond and into New York, and from there to the top of the Empire State Building. Knowing what we were in for, we'd taken precautions to wear the right clothes, and I was wearing my flying overalls and the appropriate helmet and my goggles. I won the race. The time of arrival was clocked at 9 hours and 8 minutes and 52 seconds. I was very pleased to have won it. Everyone had a challenge. Either how to get there, when do you get there, are you too late, will you miss it? It was always worrying, and one never had peace of mind, except my oil rig picture. You got complete peace of mind unless you drop the plates before you come back. Yes, most assignments left a wrinkle of what will happen. Is it enough? Have you done enough? Did you stay long enough? Did anything happen after you left? Those questions are always there, and to this day I am lucky to wake up in the morning and not remember the dream that I had that night. And it's always something that went wrong on an assignment. So if you're going to be a press photographer, take sleeping pills so that you can avoid the waking up in the morning with these terrible thoughts of what happened when it all went wrong, and hope that it won't anymore. But that's true today. I would say 3 times out of 7 of a week I could have a bad dream, but it would always be forgotten in the first seconds of waking up, and I can't remember what it was, thank God. I was very involved in thalidomide, children being born without arms and legs and everything. One of the nicest pictures, I think, was looking down at a little boy who's just got his new arms, and he's looking there, and he's got his arms and they're false. What's he going to do with them? How's he going to work them? I think that's sort of tearjerker, those sort of things. What's he going to do without them? And they sent me down to the hospital to get a picture of old Fred West, who had his heart played around with. And having got there, and the surgeons were there, and I was there, and they wanted me to take a photograph through the glass, which was plastic, where he was separated. He was inside a tent, as it were, made of glass and plastic. And I said, well, you know about optics. I can't possibly photograph Fred West through that glass, or plastic as you call it, simply because my lens on this Nikon lens has 5 separate components all put together to make a lens. And as you know, you interfere and put another cover inside, making it 7 or 6 components to the lens, you don't get a picture. And I told them that I couldn't possibly photograph it unless it was clean air. So they opened a slot so that I could poke the camera with no extra lens in front, which would made no difference whatsoever. But I was rather pleased that I'd fooled them with what knowledge I had of optics. It's this sort of game in life to get your pictures which is worth it all. I'm thinking, finest moment, I must say that retiring wasn't, because it was a joy to be a photographer for a newspaper, but I must say that it was a lot of the joy didn't come from the fact of the day, more that what had gone before, what you knew was available, and being able to be there. In the latter years before I retired, nothing very much happened, and the good moments of one's life, certainly between 40, 45, 50, 50, 60, 70, yes, 30 years of travelling all over the world at somebody else's expense, and more or less going where you felt like it. But you picked the best deal, not financially, just going where you wanted to be and doing what you wanted to do. It's a great, great life. Was. It isn't anymore. No. Cameras today have beaten the photographers, and now they use it like a machine gun. Two things I learned when I went to Biafra. First of all, the dreadful poverty and shocking conditions that some of these children were involved in. And this little picture shows a diminutive child who is suffering who knows what. But it couples with my mind. At the same time, I found a little girl who was a bit older than this child, and for some reason or other, and I worried, so she had longest eyelashes I'd ever seen, and these fantastic eyelashes came right out from her face. And I said to the sister who was taking care of me, well, how is it that her eyelashes are so long? And she said, that's the way God works and makes a child beautiful before it dies. And that hit me. This beautiful child, so beautiful, but with long eyelashes.